Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here, as always, with super bands Riley Goldman, Devin Circus, Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast. And I think Jake rubbing his eyes and shaking his head was sums it up. And this is the week 5 recap of Jungle Talk. And man, I don't know what to say. That just was amazing game. If you didn't have any skin in it, it was a fun one to watch. But for us, you could see three of us aren't wearing jerseys, and I'm just, you know, I could sit. I got halftime stats, I got notes, but I mean, we all saw it. We were a botched hold away from OW. So, well, before I say anything else,
You're being too optimistic. You're a Zach Taylor play calling away from winning a
well,
game.
we're going to get
That's
into
all on
because
Zach.
I didn't like that. But if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. By fans, for fans. And Jake, tell them where they can find your stuff. You gave us a great Cal pick yesterday. You were never, ever questioning him, and they almost won the game. Just a great Cal pick on our preview show. But tell them where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, I should have won the game. Jake Circus podcast, Spotify and YouTube. We'll have one up tomorrow morning, going through who the Bengals should hire as their head coach in 2025. Just you know, fear idealizing that aspect because the whole fan base knows it's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
it's fun to think about.
Yeah, turn your volume up just a tad.
We don't fire head coaches. We don't fire anybody. And frankly, it's time to clean house in the coaching staff.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
When we got the ball after, and I'm going to skip all the way to overtime. When we got the ball with after turnover, off Lamar's turnover, um, we didn't even try to advance it to shorten the field goal or throw the ball at all. Or I mean, it was like we were content with this 50-yarder. I just questioned all three. Now, I didn't question the third down call, but I questioned the first and the second down call. The third, you kind of made your bet and but
I don't agree with that. Pick up 4 yards. Run a slant. They had a rookie on Jamar before they called the timeout. It was single coverage. We've completely wasted. Not even going back. You know what? Not even going to go that far. You completely took the ball out of your quarterback's hand, who has arguably, maybe not even arguably, if you want to find the stats, been the best quarterback in the NFL over the last 3, if not 4 weeks, including today's game.
right, agreed. No,
Never even gave him a chance. Jamar was destroying everybody and everything. T was unstoppable with slants over the middle. Tight ends were doing everything we needed them to do, and they didn't even fucking try.
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I'm gonna put this in perspective. You're watching a Chiefs game, and the team they were playing against dropped the snap. And first of all, the win percentage when you turn the ball in overtime is under 7% in the NFL. If you turn the ball in overtime, you win the game less than 10% of the time. So if that happened to the Chiefs and they ran 3 times in a row to set up a 53-yarder for Butker, first of all, you would still trust Butker and that special teams unit more than our special teams unit. There would be this would be talked about for a month that Andy Reid took the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. And just even once. He did it 3 times. That is who Burrow is to us. And yes, Burrow's been the best quarterback in the NFL this year. I don't think it's a question. And after today, solidifies it. And the Jamar play, helped out the stats a little bit. But Burrow missed 2 throws all day. He missed the one to Higgins. There was a ball that was over his head.
High and away, yeah.
And then the interception. Humphrey made a ridiculous play. First time he's ever made a play against the Bengals in the last 4 years. First time he makes a play against us. Saves the game for Baltimore. That's it. He missed 2 throws all day. And Taylor at the end of the game just takes it away from Burrow. And I don't. Last week after the Commanders game, there was a video of Burrow looking very disappointed, walking back to the coach's office with Taylor. Can only imagine, what they're going through. And now I don't know what's going through Joe Burrow's mind right now, but can tell you it's not good.
If I'm him, I want out. I want to get traded to a team that gives me a chance to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could make the case we wasted the rookie contract of Jesse Bates. Yes, went to a Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game. T. Higgins, same thing. He's gone. What, 5, 6 more years of Burrow, but there's no defense. There's no coaching. You're not going to win games 41-38, enough games 41-38 and go to the playoffs. This team is looking at 5-11, or 5-12, 6-11.
Yeah.
We're looking at another fourth place. We're looking at another top 15 draft pick.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I can't disagree with you.
One of statistically, he's probably the best quarterback in football this year, but taking it one step further, with one of the best offenses in the NFL.
They are. They are. They went against, I mean, you know, it's the NFL is such a what have you done for me recently league, and like the Ravens have been very good recently. So they were like the new best team in the league going into today, and the Bengals put up 41 on them effortlessly. There was an interception in there. There were a couple 3-and-outs. There was a pass interference that wasn't called that could have extended the drive into plus territory. They scored 41 effortlessly and didn't even score in overtime. They had a chance to win at the end. Burrow gets sacked on first down, but I mean, yeah, they have been by all accounts the best offense in the NFL.
We've put up 30 in the last 3 games. We lost the Chiefs by 1, and the Chiefs haven't looked like the Chiefs of the last 2 years, but they're still 4-0 currently. I don't know what the answer is. I think the answer is getting rid of Zach Taylor.
I 100% think that's the answer.
And it'll never happen because it's the goddamn Bengals. And I don't know if you saw, we've always talked about, you know, the Brown, if I'm not mistaken, I'm taking this in a completely different direction. If I'm not mistaken, the Bengals are the only team in the NFL where the owner does not have another business entity, where they don't have a business that has made them their fortune. And I know for a fact, obviously the Browns don't, it's only the Bengals. So it's always been, they don't have the cash. They don't have to give the guaranteed money, the contracts. I saw a report this week, Forbes, Mike Brown cracked the top, I think it was 100 or top 200, $3 billion. Money's there, but we have a horrible ownership group. We don't offer contracts when we should. We don't offer the money we should. We don't offer the upfront money. We don't fire coaches. You know, we've talked about Lou recently. We're talking about Zach now. Why does Duke Tobin get a free pass? There's no assistance in the GM. He's the GM. He's not even really a GM. Like, I'm over it.
He's not even
freaking over it.
And Tobin's been there for years, and it's disgusting. And if I'm Burrow, and I don't know that, by all reports, Burrow and Taylor's relationship has been spectacular, and you know, if I'm just completely wrong here, whatever. But if Joe Burrow is as pissed off as he should be, he goes to Mike Brown and said, you can choose between me or Zach Taylor. Make your pick.
Yeah. Well, if I'm Burrow, I want to get traded to the Giants and play with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
So, if he were to do that, that would probably be the only way we get rid of Zach, is if Burrow went, because otherwise, look at this team's history. Look how long they gave Marvin. I mean, the team's history is they don't pay coaches to not work.
You know, I don't see the Marvin stuff is the Bengals were just a middling franchise for years, and they never drafted well. They got to the playoffs a few times. They fired Marvin because Marvin couldn't win in the playoffs.
Right.
Marvin was never a bad head coach. Zach Taylor is objectively a bad NFL coach. He was underqualified. He was not qualified. He was hired during the whole, if you have ever had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, you get an NFL head coaching job. That was during that. That was 5 years ago, and they hired Zach Taylor. He had never called plays before. He had never managed games. He was holding Sean McVay's jockstrap for 3 years, and the Bengals hired him, and they got to a Super Bowl. Well, at some point that you got to a Super Bowl, that expires. And
it's expired.
Well under 500 at the end of this year, the last 2 years, since you lose in the AFC title game to the Chiefs in 2022. The last 2 years of Bengals, at the end of this year, the Bengals are going to be under 500 with Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert's had 2 head coaches fired since then, since when they've been under 500. 2 head coaches, and he's on his 4th OC, and they were the same draft class. Like, if you want to be taken seriously as a franchise, And it's not just this game. There's so many data points of Zach Taylor coaching scared and coaching not to lose games. I say it almost every week. He has no idea how to coach with a lead, and he was given a gift in this game. We all knew the Ravens would go down and score a touchdown. If Lamar doesn't drop the snap, they probably do, and we don't even get the ball.
Yep.
He was given a gift, and he gave it away, and it was all his.
Yep, that was all really well said, Jake. Very on
well,
point.
It's
I just think his contract is through 26.
Yeah.
So if he's fired after this season, you're eating 2 years, which I don't care.
Right, I don't care either. Doesn't go against the salary. This doesn't.
And it's not even that much.
Who cares? It's just money out of their pocket, but it doesn't impact your team in terms of your roster.
Right.
No,
you know what's crazy? The crazy thing is, and I'm going to put Jake on the spot because he's been the most critical of Taylor out of anybody. And we agreed, and he was right. Zach Taylor called a pretty good game for 3.5 quarters. And yes. Jake and I were talking about that halfway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
he did. They've figured out the offense. They have great tight end personnel, very good tight end personnel for the first time in the Joe Burrow era. And they are doing what everyone has wanted them to do, which is play more heavier, play action, run the ball. And yes, he called a great game that helped because Joe Burrow made every throw and the receivers made plays. But I mean, you have to know how to man. I mean, look, depending on what the Bills do this year, Sean McDermott made not worse, but as bad of an end of game management decision today as well. And this is the 5th or 6th time that in the last 3 years. So Sean McDermott, I would be on the hot seat. They have a head coach ready as their OC. Hire Joe Brady for the Bills. I mean, some of these coaches are just absolute fucking morons. The gap between the top 5 guys like LaFleur and McVay and Kevin O'Connell and Reed they're just light years ahead of some of these absolute bozos who troll the sidelines every week.
Yep. Well, it's just like in golf, when you step up to the ball and try not to miss the putt, you will miss the putt 100% of the time. I mean, it's just it's the mindset. And calling those 3 pansy plays in overtime, not even trying to put this thing away and put it on. I just, like I said, I just shake my head. I can't disagree with anything that's been said here. I just can't. And I'm just like I said, I'm just shaking my head. This was yet another game that we just gave away. I mean, this season was set up for us schedule wise. If we just took care of the games we should have taken care of.
And the way we're playing, we should be 5-0. Sadly, we don't know if should. We could. We very well could be 5-0 right now.
Right. They have an uncurious defense that they blitz 7 and they can't get home. I mean,
yep. And
that's the problem. I mean, the problem today wasn't coverage busts. It was schematically, it was very obvious what they were trying to do. They were trying to get the ball out of Lamar's hands, and the Bengals to kind of mask not having anybody healthy in the secondary. And the Ravens receivers were winning on the outside and they were breaking tackles. They didn't, other than the Big Henry run in overtime, which I barely saw because I was already upstairs pouting. But they couldn't run the ball. The Bengals played fine.
Did a great job
against the run. They couldn't
get off
right up front on 3rd down.
And Hubbard showed up. We finally had, Hubbard, welcome to the season,
He had a good game. It is interesting. We've been saying it for weeks that the front line is so banged up that the secondary has no chance.
Yeah.
Front line did a great job. We got some reinforcements back. And then secondary started dropping like flies and just too much to Jake's point, couldn't get home. And it's too easy for, talented athletes like Bateman and Flowers. And I have no idea who Kolar is, but he had 80 yards and a touchdown against us. It's just too much.
I mean, the explosive.
We got Mark Andrews, his first 3 receptions in a month against our defense. Sorry, Jake.
The explosive plays stopped in the second half because the Bengals were bringing more blitzes. And I'd have to go back and watch the tape to see whether they were playing up tight, they were playing close. It didn't really look like it. But it was a great game from the Ravens outside receivers. Getting 8 to 12 yards every time the Bengals were blitzing.
I mean, Derrick Henry had 199 yards last week, and he had 41 before that play at the end.
Right.
That's a great game by our defense. At least the front four, front seven, or depending on the play. But
Yeah,
like,
and I thought they did pretty well against Lamar too.
Yeah.
In terms
He didn't
of
kill
running.
us.
Yeah, I
it's
thought they did
55 yards on the game. That's nothing for
Um,
Lamar.
Now, Lamar this year it seems like he's grown as a passer again. And they have more better weapons, so he's not as
Yeah.
set running the ball as much as he has been in the past. But there were a couple of runs Lamar had where he could have like easily gotten first downs and just like was very hesitant. And so I thought the Bengals did a good job there, but the linebackers and coverage was a problem. The deep zones were a problem, and pass rush was a problem in terms of blitzing. And our
And you talked about the play calling for 3.5 quarters. One of the things I had in my notes was the way we managed the last 2 minutes of the half and then came out and double dipped. We actually, that got us that 2-score lead. It was, and then we kind of kept keeping it a 2-score lead. And I kept saying, what did I say in the preview? I said, one of the keys to us winning this game is to get ahead. We had to get ahead and maintain that. And we were there like for 3.5 quarters. I mean, we were a first down in the fourth away from putting the game away. We were, like I said, I never ever will agree with putting to not to miss because you'll lose every time. And that's what we did. And
Burrow said all week, the quote went all over. It was, "I need to be perfect." And that was taken completely out of context, kind of shitting on the defense. I don't think that was what he was trying to do. But up until the interception, which was a great play by Humphrey, Burrow was perfect.
Yeah, he was.
Absolutely.
And Zach
got over 80%. Yeah.
Zach Taylor took the game out of his hands. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
No excuse. So tough one. Probably our season. I mean,
and what sucks about this is the fate for this team. It's week 5 and their fate. I mean, even watching that game, you're like, okay, this is not the team. That they've got issues, but it would be nice to get back in it and at 2-3 with the Giants on deck.
Oh.
But now that you lose and you're 1-4, it very well might be the season. But like the fate of this team is they cannot win anything with Joe Burrow if Zach Taylor is still there, and that after week 5, and they're not going to do anything about it. So now we're going to be in limbo for the next 11 weeks, waiting for them to finally maybe hearing the news. I mean, I remember our reaction, Dad, when they fired Marvin after the most obvious decision they needed to, and we were surprised it happened, and we were still surprised after all those years that it actually happened. So,
no, they're not going to fire him in the offseason.
Those people who go back with this show, like a long ways back, even to me to another channel, I used to close the show by saying, "Fuck you, Mike Brown, until you sell the team, and fuck you, Marvin Lewis, till you get fired or win a playoff game." And that's how I close the show. And occasionally people will pop up in the comments and say, "We need the old sign off. We need the old sign off." But yeah, I mean, that's how I closed the show for years, during the Dalton years. So
and we had given him so much credit over the last 3 years because it seemed like they were moving forward and they were evolving and advancing. And yeah, Zach Taylor was at the forefront of that, but no, it wasn't. It was because Zach Taylor went 2-15, 2-14 in his first year, and they drafted Joe Burrow. That's why everything changed. Right. It wasn't because Zach Taylor is this some philanthropist, mega star. It was because of Joe Burrow. And now it seems like they've gone backwards.
Yeah.
Because they do have the holes, because they did pay the quarterback, and now you have the holes, and you don't have the coaching to mask that, like other teams do. And you haven't drafted well either. So it's on all levels. All levels.
We're gonna have to see what happens. You knew when the Ravens got the ball back that the Bengals had thought the game was over. You could just see when they came out. I wasn't surprised at the Henry run that took him into the red zone. I was like,
it was over.
So, but yeah, this was a tough one. So I don't know how to tell everybody to get through the rest of your day, but alcohol, go play golf, go do something. It's just this one hurt. This one hurt. These are tough ones. And like I said, we were right there at 2-3, looking at 3-3, right back in everything. And now, You know, we're sitting there with
This
the
one's
Browns.
more This one's more big picture though.
I agree.
Definitely.
The Chiefs hurt more than this one because now the Chiefs loss, it was wow, that really could have got us back on track and kept us on the inside track for everywhere we wanted to go. This one is not even like this one ended our season.
Yeah.
But it's also the microcosm of what is our franchise now and what do the next couple of years look like, because it's a train wreck.
Yeah. So no, it's time to. I mean, we got to start next year with new coaches, but we don't know that's going to happen. So it's
This
like
is the
Jake
kind of
said,
loss.
we got the 11 weeks of limbo coming up.
This is the kind of loss, Mark, where you, me, and Heath apologize to Jake and Riley, and Katie's your daughter, right?
I did it at her bat mitzvah. I apologized during my speech for making.
Yeah.
At that point, we were just coming out of the, out of the, the lost decade of the '90s, and
Yeah.
yeah, I've already apologized to her in public numerous times. But yeah, we apologize to him again for making
Yep.
us Bengal fans.
Bringing them into this.
Yeah.
I got one thing, and I was checking Twitter. So press conference, Zach Taylor says that they called pass on the first play after the Pratt fumble and Burrow audibled into a run. My instant reaction is, first of all, fuck you for throwing a quarterback under the bus.
Right. That's my first reaction.
Second of all, first down is the only down where it's fine to run the ball on that drive. Like, you still called pass on second and third down. You got stuffed for 1 yard on first down. Fine. Burrow probably saw a look that he liked and he changed it. They didn't get it. They got stuffed. And then what? You bent over and you ran it again. So, I mean, God, what is he like?
Yeah.
And I'm just in follow up to the tweet you saw. We were in heavy formation anyway.
So
Yeah.
all right. Well, Bengal fans, stay off the ledges. Alcohol, pot, whatever your vice is, go self-medicate because you've earned it. Being a fan of this team and having to live through this game. And like I said, if you didn't have a horse in the race, this was a great game to watch. But for us, it hurt. That hurt.
Ben Johnson, come on down.
So
I will say this, and it's not at all important right now because of where we are in the standings. The AFC is awful.
It really is.
Yeah.
Chargers,
Really
Broncos, Raiders, Dolphins, Colts, Titans, Patriots, Jaguars are the teams that are ahead of us right now. It's awful. They're not winning anything this year because the defense and the head coach, but the AFC is terrible.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. Support the channel. It's all we ask. It's a show by fans, for fans. It's what it's always been. It's what it will always be. Jake, remind them where they can find your stuff again.
Jake Circus Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. We'll have a good one tonight. Going up tomorrow morning. Great college slate. And then a great witching hour today. So lots to talk about.
And Riley, want to pitch your X or Twitter or whatever, sports balls.
On X at sportsball, 3 L's at the end, and then check out on Spotify the MFL football podcast, EMFL football podcast, bringing you 2 episodes a week, NFL preview and recap.
Right. We will be back on Thursday with the preview of the Giants Sunday night game, a game I know NBC wanted out of and didn't get out of. So it's going to be in prime time. Yeah. All right. Well, hang in there, everybody. And with that, I'm going to say good day, everybody. Take care.